There's a story as old as time. David versus Goliath, man versus beast. With some stones and a sling, Goliath fell to the small David. He was touted as king from then on. The king every king would be compared to for the rest of history. For our story, heroes from across the world didn't even want to take this down. Solo Witness would require stringent dedication of a player so poised to the challenge that the game would become tactile to the human eye. Every squeeze of the trigger counted, and every attempt left a new scenario of defeat at the hands of the first knife. But one player officially did it, and I am here to document his journey. Welcome to a story of true persistence and tenacity, the story of dog versus witness, the story of Solo Witness. Obviously, it goes without saying, if you enjoy the story here, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more, as it's a direct reflection on how I'm doing. Also, make sure to follow all of the runners involved in the story, as without them, this doesn't happen. Links below. Guys, it's my birthday today. And on my birthday, I figured I would give a couple of things away. The first thing was a PC to my editor, Rago. Shout out to him for helping out on all the videos, including this one.
Quick little rounds. A little bit of damage there. New Zealand Customs, you know how it be. I'm about to cut. That, it looks pristine. You've got your beautiful CPU, RAM, that nice motherboard, all the cabling completely out of sight, out of mind, with your lovely 4090 and your plate light right here. Look at it. Absolutely magnificent. You've got everything there.
Also, guys, if I had one birthday wish from you, it would be very simple. If you guys could, click the link and support me on my journey with Starforge. Starforge has been incredible to me. They've not only provided me with a space to host Raid Zone, they've also helped me out in getting the PC to my editor, but on top of that, they have crazy deals all the time, including brand new PCs every single month, and you guys can use my link anytime you want to. Even if you're not interested in the PC, it would be awesome if you guys clicked the link and just checked out Starforge. Also, I am going to be running a bunch of raids with you guys to give back on my birthday. You guys have supported me so much, and this is the very least I could do.
Before we begin, allow me to paint you the full picture.
With the most recent raid race, we saw only one team clear the witness in 24 hours.
Back right, back right.
Wait! Focus! Look for mechanics! Focus! Mission complete. We need chest! We need to get chest! We need to get chest! We need to loot chest! We need to loot chest!
We know that the Eventide moment was Team Parabellum pulling off the decade-ending raid. But ultimately, through the express mechanics the witness presented, we also knew it looked comprehensible to solo. You see, the witness's main mechanics were not the hardest challenge to solo for the runners, with the mechanics essentially following the same mark. If you haven't seen my raid video covering this race, you should go watch it. But here's a quick explanation of the mechanics, because I feel like it's important to tell you so we don't get bogged down in the details. Shoot the bracelet on one of the witness's hands while standing in the corresponding aura, taking note of the color and the specific location of the hand you just shot. There is a position fixed hand that spawns a buff from standing in that, a square hand that shoots a beam, a circle hand pointing up that will spawn a circle, and a downward hand spawning a triangle. Acquire the resonance from the corresponding hand you want, noting the color that appears when you shoot the hand. Then shoot another hand that had been noted by you or another team member with the matching buff, and stand in the aura of that buff just long enough to get a quick shot off and to not gain that buff. You will acquire the Glyph Breaker buff by doing this, allowing you to shoot one of the buttons on the witness's chest to destroy it. You'll need to do this 6 times, the total number of buttons. Now at any given hand, the witness will test you, which means you must shoot 6 totems in the sky near the witness into the shape of the hand type you shot last, cued by a loud sound and that hand glowing orange. Just jump once when the witness plan has been foiled. Text pops up and the witness anime eyes shoot the ground. Once that is done, you continue on and break all the buttons, then deal with an involved DPS phase, which calls for you to pay attention at all times and shoot the chest. Now with a team of 6 and some basic understanding and even mess ups, this can be done. But Bog My Dog and Snazzy Rock are never thinking of 6 players when they hop into raid encounters. Snazzy, as you may know at this point, has taken down some of the craziest solos in Destiny history, and Bog just took down a whole gauntlet of solo raid bosses in a row without dying, which we will cover in a soon-to-come video. Both of these guys are good friends, and they were kind enough to explain some thoughts going into the solo. The subjugators are brand new to the final shape. This enemy has the ability to not only deal tons of strand damage, but also to suspend you in the air, killing an entire run. Given the fact that a million Screebs run around, their shielded Scorn Chieftains, and Weavers pulling you around the room, this solo was brutal. Bog and Snazzy shared with me that a lot of the struggles were in survival.
Surviving, especially on right side, can be tricky, but as long as you're making orbs Facet of Purpose, which is restoration when you pick up an Orb of Power, will make your life pretty easy. The mechanics can be very finicky. Sometimes you'll sit in the attack for 4 to 5 seconds and not pick up the buff, and other times you'll run past the attack, pick it up instantly when you don't want it. The RNG of the hands can be pretty brutal, but only 1 in 50 runs or so will be completely ruined by bad hand RNG alone. At the end of the day, if you execute the mechanics in a very efficient way, on top of breaking 2 glyphs at once using the SMG, the only trouble you'll have is evading the right side subjugator and avoiding messing up the mechanics. At the start I found it very difficult to get the damage, but by the end, I could get the damage every time. In the end, running went from can I get to damage or not to can I get to damage with a lot of heavy or not.
One of the biggest issues with this challenge was the chieftains. Every time you go into a damage phase, you're basically praying to the lords that you do not shoot a chieftain disc. These chieftains will do every single thing in their power to get you killed in damage. They constantly shoot their stupid discs at you, and you just so happen to hit the discs a lot more than you would think. I have at least over 50 wipes, and that's probably being a bit generous, just to chieftains. The chieftains are so unbelievably frustrating, and I just cannot stop shooting discs!
Bog shared with me that he learned a lot about the best places for cover, best places for line of sight on the limbs, and the best spots to avoid the subjugators. I noticed when watching the runs that both of them were weakening buttons down before destroying them, and this is a very interesting part of soloing the mechanics that might even play into a 6-player execution. And speaking of execution, we should definitely talk about that. With that being said, what was a simple concept became a month-plus long battle. The community's biggest question wasn't in the mechanics, as Mario Monkey on contest mode was able to solo the witness's mechanics. However, the damage was the problem. I saw a lot of people saying that it wasn't possible, but without a second thought, Snazzy and Bog grabbed a fire team just to practice the mechanics to see what was mathematically possible.
The first question was, could we hit final stand? First landmark for me was Rurua's 6.3 million health PB in one phase. For context, the witness has approximately 26.5 million health, 22.5 million to final stand, and 4 million in final stand. If all you cared about was getting to final stand, you need 7.5 million damage per phase. So 6.3 was a great start, but when I saw this, I knew there was more potential than what had been realized. In the clip, they get off exactly 6 Still Hunt Goldies and barely any heavy ammo. But if we could just hit the same number of Still Hunt shots while using a lot more heavy, we could maybe hit closer to 7.5, 8 million. The problem was that shooting more heavy in the form of a grenade launcher meant we couldn't get off all 6 still hunt shots. So by shooting more heavy, you increase your total damage, but it's traded off with missing out on that last still hunt shot, so you're sort of back to square one. Fortunately, although this option didn't work, we realized a pretty big flaw in Rua's damage rotation while actually testing it out. Because of the nature of their rotation, using Transcendence at the start of the phase meant that they actually didn't have a debuff or Radiant for a good portion of the damage phase, especially towards the end. Radiant and a debuff increases your damage by a whopping 43.75% when combined together, which is a pretty big deal. The first of many optimizations was using Transcendence in the middle of damage phase as opposed to at the start. Since Transcendence gives you back your grenade and melee abilities, this essentially allows you to keep the Radiant from melee and Acrobat's dodge, and debuff from the melee and the magnetic grenade up for the entire damage phase. Cancelling a Still Hunt special reload with the Transcendence animation was the cherry on top, but later we would realise this would also give us another buff to our Golden Gun Super 2. After putting Transcendence in the middle of the rotation, and after a lot of practice, I was able to hit 7.78 million damage in a single phase. Theoretically, this was enough to send the boss into Final Stand. So in my next stream, I had a team help me get to damage 3 phases in a row, where I would solo damage to prove that you could actually send the boss into Final Stand while solo. The next step was to actually solo Final Stand, and for this we had to bring out all the stops. First of all, Golden Gun and Still Hunt Goldie for a massive 1.3 million damage basically instantly. After that, we have about 13 seconds to get off 2.5 million damage, which is a job only one gun can handle in this situation: Edge Transit. With the Cascade Envious swap, Snazzy was able to solo Final Stand, with a fire team helping him get there, without too much trouble, but even with this crazy roll, it was still a super tight kill. I was able to solo Final Stand a day later, without Cascade Point, but this was extremely tight and required a bit more optimization. Using Slice to apply Sever to the boss before Final Stand gave an extra 10% damage on the Golden Gun thanks to Facet of Courage, reducing the number of Edge Transit shots required to kill by 1, making it just barely possible. Along with this, just really efficient loadout swaps utilizing the keybind to open your loadout menu. It only saves half a second, but that's an extra shot of Edge Transit and could be the difference between tragically soft-locking the boss and getting that clear. So that was it, right? Getting to final was possible, final was possible, so we started the attempts. Well, not so fast. The Edge Transit required to solo Final Stand also eliminated any possibility of using heavy ammo on third phase. This, along with the fact that we needed to also save our super for final, meant that the only thing we could use in third phase was Still Hunt. That's it. Just Still Hunt. With just Still Hunt, the most we could hit was around 5.5 million damage. This meant that with the 7.8 from before, along with the 5.5, we were around 1.5 million damage off being able to send to final with the setup required to actually finish off the boss. Fortunately, we weren't done with optimizing, and we had another trick up our sleeves. That same trick we used to squeeze out more Golden Gun damage in Final Stand was something we added into the normal phases. Using Golden Gun after Transcendence as opposed to opening with Golden Gun allowed it to benefit from the 10% bonus damage from Facet of Courage, since the Transcendent grenade applies a slow. The other bonus of this is that Golden Gun Super can be used to cancel the Still Hunt Goldie animation. This little time save might seem insignificant, but small optimizations like these, combined with more deliberate spacing of our Radiant and debuff refreshes, made it possible to do just over 8.2 million damage in a perfect phase. So with two 8.2 mil phases, we somehow needed to just hit over 6 million in a phase where we used no heavy and no super. This is where I have to shout out Facet of Command. I probably spent 20 or so hours over the course of this entire crafting process trying to use this fragment to get a free reload somewhere in the rotation, but over and over again it wouldn't proc, or proc too early. This fragment reloads your weapon when you freeze an enemy, and since the Transcendent Grenade actually applies a slow, then 2 grenades equals a free reload, right? Well, wrong. Because of how bad this nade's hitbox is, combined with the funky hitbox of the Witness, this fragment was pretty impractical until someone in my chat, Shadow Ninja, came up with a crazy lineup to get it to work. Turns out, Throwing the second grenade at the boss's arm instead of his chest made it a lot more likely for Facet of Command to proc. Don't ask me why, but it does. This was the missing puzzle piece that unlocked the 6 million damage phase with no heavy and no super. 6 million damage, no heavy, no super, and I would have all of my abilities ready for final stand. This was essentially the last thing we needed. There was, however, one more trick we had up our sleeve, and that would end up being absolutely critical for the final clear of the solo. You see, this entire time we're damaging the boss, we're using Still Hunt and Golden Gun with the Celestial Nighthawk exotic, which converts those multi-shot burst abilities into a single, heavy-hitting sniper shot. Well, for some reason in this game, these shots can do a little, or sometimes a lot, more damage than normal. This is a damage glitch that we refer to as a Goldie chunk, because it takes a big chunk out of the health bar for no real reason. Whatever causes this is up for speculation, but all I can say is, when you're shooting over 20 of these Golden Gun shots at the boss over 3 phases and a final stand, one of them is bound to get this extra chunk of damage. Well, mathematically speaking, it was up in the air whether 3 perfect phases would just send or leave him very close to final. One thing was for sure. Any Goldie chunks would make sending him to final stand just that little bit easier, adding another element of RNG into the mix, but one that would eventually secure the clear. From the release of the raid, I went from this is completely impossible to this might be theoretically possible to this is actually possible, but you need a Goldie chunk in one of the phases to send a final. To think is quite poetic given that in my eventual clear, I didn't get a single Goldie chunk in the first 3 phases. Not only was this the first clear, but may have been the first time someone had sent the witness into final without a single Goldie chunk. Unfortunately, because my Still Hunt wasn't fully charged, I started final stand about 2 seconds late, which was basically a guaranteed wipe, since final is so tight. Fortunately, I was saving my Goldie chunk for the perfect moment.
On June 29th of 2024, Bog released a video detailing just how frustratingly complex getting the solo witness would be, painstakingly trudging through phases of mishaps and RNG feeling scenarios, juggling all sorts of buffs, artifact mods boosting damage, and build swaps just to get one of 4 perfect damage phases down. When I say perfect, I really mean it, as there is no room for error in the run to hit the needed damage. We went over the build to get the damage, and the mainstays like Still Hunt and Celestial Nighthawk Hunter, but to be a little bit more detailed, you would need a lot working in tandem to max out the damage on the witness.
The builds for running are Liar's Handshake to deal with the left subjugator, and then swap to either Stompies for better movement and survivability, or Lucky Pants for a little more potent ad clear. The Strand Subjugator is the most oppressive enemy in the game, full stop. But if you kill him and leave the stasis one alive, he won't respawn until the next mechanics phase. After that, you just pray that the right subjugator doesn't trap you in a box of stasis crystals while you're trying to do the mechanics. Damage phase is Celestial Nighthawk. Still Hunt spam is the highest sustained DPS and total damage for solo in the entire game, full stop. The rotation is both complex and simple, with the main focus on keeping 100% uptime of weakening the boss and having Radiant.
Even with all of this working, all sorts of struggles would happen, like these.
Yeah, game, I'm totally over there. Yeah.
I hit the Lisan Al Gaib chunk as well, dude. Like, come on.
Every single night and every single day was a back and forth for those who would claim world's first of Solo Witness. It was possible, but it would only take one with the perfect run to get it down. Every time you thought one of them was going to get it, Bog and Snazzy, they just were not. Bog and Snazzy would both spend 8 to 12 hours a day over a month theory crafting and working it all out. Snazzy even soloed every possible encounter to solo before this moment too. Since Witness just seemed impossible for a long time, Bog would just solo other raid bosses to take his mind off of this impossibly hard challenge. It's insane that these two are so good at the game that soloing other raid bosses is like a vacation to them. But the day was coming, and both of them were hungry for it. Was it Snazzy? Was it Bog? Who was going home with the world's first? Both had insane attempts, but we knew only one could do it.
My god, hit him in! No! No! No!
July 9th, 2024. This is an important note for the story. Bungie opened a live stream in which they discussed changes coming, and Chris Proctor from Bungie was asked if Cascade Mag was getting changed in the future, in which Chris said that it would be, but they had a coding issue that they ran into. Cascade Mag is a perk in Destiny 2 that allows for insane damage output from whatever weapon it's on, simply because you can get a ton of extra shots off extremely quickly after dealing precision damage. Add this to a weapon that has bait and switch and is the best in slot heavy weapon, and you have edge transit with a broken combination of damage. With the change still coming and then Still Hunt seemingly getting a buff with the next artifact, solo players were worried and annoyed that the credibility of the solo would lose some touch to it. Snazzy and Bog would have to step up. July 11th would come around, and of course I was asleep after watching hours and hours of attempts. But when I got a message on Discord saying, "Let me know what you need for the solo Witness video, bro," the rest was history.
Come on, dude. Oh. I got so close to a clear, like, right at the start of the stream, man. Like, come on. You can fucking do this shit. I just gotta fucking, like... I just gotta get the run. I just gotta get the run, bro.
Bog on my dog after years of trial and learning the ways of solo. Hell, after completing his own solo gauntlet of raid bosses, had done the previously unthinkable and took down Goliath. What an insane accomplishment. But as we know, the Destiny community would cheer him on. It was thought for so long that you would need the combo, as Bog talked about it on his stream. But Bog would prove that with the right game plan and perfect execution of damage, sometimes with the help of damage glitches by just using Still Hunt, it was all possible. Congrats to Snazzy and Bog for stepping up and proving that this could get done. And at the time of this video, Snazzy has also soloed the Witness.
Let me have it, man. Let me have it, dude. Let me have it. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. Come on. Yes. 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 He's dead. Don't tell anybody, you guys. Don't tell anybody, you guys. Don't tell anybody. Yes, dude.
And a special shout out to you for hopefully being there for this accomplishment.
I feel like every time any low man is done, it feels like the hardest, but it's just recency bias. In terms of running, it's difficult, but not as hard as things like Caretaker or Explicator. And the damage check is ridiculously tight, but with the new artifact will become a lot more lenient. Before the artifact though, this is definitely one of the hardest damage checks that a solo has ever had, probably only topped by something like the Pantheon Caretaker clear. Because of how perfect you need to be for final, third phase has always felt like a blur. I would say in terms of execution, third phase and final were the most difficult, which is really rough considering that they're at the end of a 15-minute run, where your nerves are making it impossible to think and almost impossible to execute the rotations perfectly. What it came down to mentally was practice. I knew exactly what I had to do. I drilled third phase and final so much in a fire team that it was just relying on my muscle memory to carry. But practically, it was scary to think that even the smallest mistake could mean throwing away a very hard to achieve run. Knowing that you could play absolutely perfectly, just to lose to an enemy shooting your grenade launcher shot out of the air was one of the toughest things to level with mentally, but I knew it was just a matter of time before the stars would align. The feeling was unbelievable. I pinched myself when it finally happened. I couldn't believe I'd finally conquered the Witness. The satisfaction of going into something basically no one else is willing to do. Going through the motions of testing, calculating, optimizing, practicing, grinding, and finally getting that reward for all the work, stress, and passion you put in, it's indescribable. I hope the people helping and watching along the way felt a similar satisfaction, seeing the journey evolve from this to this. By far my proudest achievement in gaming, and I'm glad I was able to get this done for not just myself or the solo community, but all the people that took time out of their day to help me along the way.
David had defeated Goliath, and unlike David, Bog and Snazzy, and many others in the Destiny community, didn't just rule and become beloved. They kept on fighting more and more, and whatever Bungie threw at them next, they were there. They will be there. I will be there. And hopefully, you will too. I'll see you next time.